Hey, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co, and this is To Back or Not to Back, although granted we are very late on today's video. But that said, we're going to go ahead and jump into it, going over all the crowdfunding campaigns, talking about the games, the campaigns, should you back them, should you not, add-on stretch goals, all of that and more. But of course, we are going to start with our obligatory Cult of the Now. Cult of the Now is a segment where we take a look at a currently available game, and today's game is The Lord of the Rings Duel for Middle-earth, which is amazing, by the way. If you like Seven Wonders Duel, you should definitely check this game out. If you don't like Seven Wonders Duel, possibly still check this game out. I will have a review coverage for you later this week, probably Saturday, but we'll see. But anyways, it's a great game, and you can go ahead and check out a variety of reviews, and it's currently available over on Miniature Market if you want to go ahead and take a look at the special price in cart, which currently means that's being sold below MSRP. I believe that's what it usually means, or some sort of sale or discount, whatever it is. But either way, you can get a game now instead of waiting a year and a half, instead of paying for the deluxe versions of everything, instead of wondering if the game is even good. You can get The Lord of the Rings Duel for Middle-earth available right now in today's Cult of the Now. But with that, we're going to go ahead and dive into all of various crowdfunding games. We have a lot of crowdfunding stuff. We have a board game adjacent, we have not funding, we have an update on one, and we have a whole bunch of new crowdfunding campaigns to go through. Links and timestamps to everything down below. Starting off with our board game adjacent. Over on board game adjacent, we have Dungeons Reforged, hand-painted modular terrain, coming to you from Dwarven Forge, who do this, very cool deluxe terrain or whatnot. We have $548,000 raised, 564 backers, 22 days left to go. This is going to be hand-painted terrain options for their, Dungeons Reforged line. One of the most popular lines. This has all the cool bits and pieces and stuff. This is not heavily my genre. This is like very cool stuff. Whenever you see this at conventions, it looks amazing. But ultimately, this is a very expensive terrain for very much the what do you want to call it? The Dungeon Master, D&D, miniature games, whatever it is you're playing. If you are willing to go above and beyond to go ahead and get something that's going to look very premium on your table, this has a ton of options for you. And there are a ton of options. I'm not going to go through everything over here. I wouldn't be able to. Well, I would be able to. It would just take a lot of time. But we have a ton of pledge levels, we have a ton of add-ons, like literally just rows and rows of add-ons of different options for you to get in case you want to go ahead and start diving into the world of very premium terrain for your RPG, miniature, just tabletop presence, whatever it is you want. Moving on to the not yet funding category, we have Crystal Age. This one looks like it probably won't fund, but we'll see how it goes. $11,000 raised, 113 backers, 15 days to go, and I am curious why this is not doing that well. Like, there's always a range of how well you expect a campaign to do. This one looks good enough that I'd kind of expect it to do a bit better, although I should note, if you are looking at this, the miniatures currently are STLs, not currently able to buy, so you can get them printed. You can get the STLs as an add-on or whatnot, or I think the STLs come with each pledge for you to print them yourselves if you have a 3D printer. Otherwise, you're working with acrylic standees for right now. I believe there's an option to, as they get stretch goals, to eventually unlock them as an actual pledge or something you can get, but for right now, that's not quite available. But anyways, Crystal Age looks good overall. I'm not going to heavily go into this one. Again, I don't think it'll currently fund right now with 11,000 out of 27,000, 15 days left to go. But currently, there's a pledge level for the basic low corruption pledge, the basic game. We have the game and expansion for $77. The base game is going to be $49. And then we have the all-in everything for $131. Again, overall, looks pretty cool. Like you're going to be taking control of creatures, add them to tableau, utilize them, whatnot. The overall game structure looks fun. Lots of powers and abilities, good art, good premium acrylic standees look great, even if you're not getting miniatures. And I honestly think to a certain extent, putting STLs almost makes it worse. Whenever I see STL in a pledge level, it makes me think I'm not really getting everything. Had they just gone with acrylic standees, I think that would probably be better. You can still give the STLs or put them. I just think putting them in the pledge level makes me think that I have to work to make the game complete. And premium acrylic standees are a complete game. So I think overall, maybe that's a misstep. I'm not entirely sure. But either way, the game looks good. Let me know in the comments down below why you are or are not backing this one, because I am curious. It looks good enough that I think it should have more funding than it currently does, and yet it doesn't. So that's why I'm curious about this one. Anyways, I'm going to go ahead and move on over here to Planet of the Apes, the miniatures board game. Another one in the not yet funding category. This one probably will cross that finish line. 193 backers, 37,000 euro raised so far out of a 50,000 euro goal. 11 days to go. This is coming to you from Zero Live, and it's Planet of the Apes, the miniatures game, a game that takes place in between movies 2 and 3. It's basically going to be a skirmish game between the miniatures and the humans. So as much as it has the Planet of the Apes IP, and as much as it does lean into it, certain characters and how they operate and things they do, it's basically a skirmish game between two different factions, utilizing the Planet of the Apes IP over it. Which, I don't know about you, for me, I like Planet of the Apes. I do, I enjoy the movie. That doesn't pull me into this one inherently. Like, I'm not I like the movie. This one doesn't pull. Like, I'd probably play a video game. The board game IP onto it doesn't pull me in. And I will say things are expensive here. That's like, if you look at reasons why things aren't funding, this is definitely coming in expensive. Again, it's ultimately a skirmish game with asymmetric sides. You know, the apes in the jungle, actually on trees. You're gonna have 3D terrain going on. Check out the video. It is a good video if you want to get a little bit of a sense or feel for how the game plays. But you're literally gonna have the miniatures on these tree structures. You're gonna have all the characters with different things that they do, is how they join the battle. You're gonna be setting tree trunks on fire as you try to push off the humans and whatnot. There is solo gameplay, I believe cooperative gameplay, and competitive gameplay, but things are expensive. You have the rewards for the game coming in at €200 for the all-in. The basic entry point is €100 for the game, and then $150 for the all-in gameplay if you don't need all the premium stuff. And then even if you're looking at the add-ons, you know, if you look at some of the stuff over here, we have the Luca expansion with, like, you know, 3 characters over here for €20. We have the Caesar on Horseback expansion for €20, giving you Caesar, obviously the main character from, well, one of the main characters from Planet of the Apes, you know, coming in on horseback to rescue the team. No spoil. I'm going to avoid saying things because I've watched all the movies. Anyways, we have the Caesar mini expansion as well. So all these things, but they are coming in fairly expensive comparatively speaking, and then shipping costs as well add on further to that. Like, if you want the all-in gameplay, that's €35 on top of the €150. The base gameplay coming at €25, which means you're looking at €125 just to get the entry point to the game, which is, again, it looks cool overall, but definitely on the expensive side, which is, I can see why it's not funding yet. We also have Fabled the Spirit Lands and expansion, another one in the not yet funding category, another one I think will cross that finish line. 188 backers so far, 14 days to go, $8,000 raised out of a $10,000 goal. This is Fabled the Spirit Lands from Crowd D Games, and this is going to be the base game, but also the expansion, which will be available later, and then the stretch goals, which is going to be exclusive to Kickstarter. So you have some Kickstarter exclusive stuff here, especially if you are someone who has played Fabled the Spirit Lands and wants more content. There is exclusive content on this campaign. But Fabled the Spirit Lands is basically a game where you're going to be guiding your sages across these terrain cards that you're going to build out as you go. So as you play the game, I'm trying to find some pictures over here, you're going to be laying out these path cards and placing your sages onto these cards, and then you activate certain terrain cards, moving all the sages on those terrain cards. So it's kind of a somewhat shared environment, trying to take advantage of the various locations you're moving people to as you wander from card to card, as you build structures that will stop people from moving from one card to another. There's all these, basically, you're kind of creating pathways as you go. There's a lot of abilities going on, so lots of other things happening in the game too that will keep you invested. Lots of, you know, side abilities or characters you're going to be earning throughout the game. There's a progression track where you can channel them towards different upgrades. That's kind of the general idea of the base game. But it's a very, very beautiful art, lots of little powers and abilities in terms of various locations you're going to, lots of things happening, and there are, similar to Planet of the Apes over here, we have competitive play, but we also have solo and cooperative play against the spirits as well. Now the expansion is going to add 2 things over here. Well, we have, well, not 2 things. We have the Eye of Times expansion, which I guess does add 2 things. The Eye of Times expansion, which will be available in retail later. That one's going to give you modular expansion content to the game. So you may have 3 different modules you can add to the game, as well as scenarios to the game. So you have those 2 things being added to the game. And then we have Fabled the Furthest Journey promo pack, and that's going to be something that is, that's going to be something, effectively the stretch goals, but not really stretch goals, just kind of adding it in. The Furthest Journey promo pack is going to give you additional content to the game for those who back it on crowdfunding. So you have over here, we have a special module Beyond the Horizon, we have the special scenario, the Great Swamp, and then the Ghostly Forest as well, all being added to the Furthest Journey Kickstarter pack over here. As far as the pledge levels, we have $20 for the expansions, the new content for the game. We have $49 if you want the base game as well. And then past that, there's 2 sets over there. Shipping's going to run you around, let's see where the shipping is. Shipping is on, was it on a separate chart over here? Yeah, subsidized estimates doesn't really have the shipping over here, so I guess not as far as there. But either way, as far as should you back or should you not will hold its value, a little trickier to say. There's not a lot of demand for this game. There is some exclusive content going on, which is helpful, but I think this is one that Fabled the Spirit Lands in general didn't hit as well as some of other Crowd D games, hasn't been as popular, which makes me a little hesitant to hold this value. But if you do want that Kickstarter exclusive pack, this might be the easiest way to get your hands on it. Moving on to an update category. So we're still not in the new campaigns over here. This is more of an update because this was over on BackerKit previously, and they're just relaunching it over on Kickstarter to tap into a new audience. So we're not going to heavily get into it, but just making sure you're aware that this exists in case you missed it last time. We have 66 backers, $12,000 raised, 10 days to go. Mythlords Classic Monsters is a deck building area control game coming to you from, well, Destiny Horizons, Frank Zanka. But this is going to give you, well, new content. Not new content. This is a redone version of, no, sorry. This is a new campaign that is a re-campaign version effectively. So you have the last campaign that already existed on BackKit. This is basically tapping into new audience, but it's going to be deck building and area control. You're going to be choosing your faction, choosing which monster command is going to represent your faction, and then going through area control with these classic monsters in the game. So I'm not going to heavily go into it, just making sure you're aware that there is a relaunch campaign. And then before we dive into the new campaigns, we do have a sponsor for today's video. We are sponsored today by Into the AM. Into the AM is a clothing brand that reached out to me months ago, and speaking frankly, I was a little hesitant to cover this as a sponsor on a board game channel because it's clothing, it's t-shirts, it's hoodies. Like, is that really the thing you're interested in? But eventually I did say yes because I have friends who wore this and they swore by those shirts. And now it's time for me to swear by the shirts because, and I get it if you doubt it, I completely do. This is kind of thing where I'd be skeptical too. Hey, it's a sponsor and all that. But I try to only take on products that I actually believe in because, well, that's just how I feel about sponsorships, I guess. But specifically, they have a lot of clothes. We'll show you some of the designs in future videos. But today I want to focus specifically on their classic hoodies, on the classic tees, not hoodies, the classic tees. Because I'm wearing one right now just to make sure and all that. But I've been wearing these for like 4 or 5 months. And I kid you not, these are legit the best tees I've worn from any company ever, full stop. Now, granted, I'm not buying $100 t-shirts, so I can't compare it to some like high premium, who knows what. But from the tees I wore, and I do wear a lot of tees, these are easily my favorite. I currently have 3. I actually gonna go ahead and pick up a bunch more. Speaking of which, they do have these packs down here if you want to get a bunch of packs of 3 packs, 5 packs, 6 packs, 9 packs. I don't think they have a 5 pack. It's 3, 6, and 9 packs over here. And you could use my code in the description down below, both so that they know that I sent you, but also if you want to get a 10% discount on things. But legitimately, these are some of the best tees I've worn. Not some of, these are the best tees I've worn from any brand. If you do go ahead and get these, which I do recommend, please let me know in the comments down below. Let me know if these do work for you or not. If like they were like super comfortable and awesome, which is how I feel, or if you're like, honestly, not that much. And I say that because I want you and others watching to feel confident that when I say these are the best tees I've worn, they are legitimately the best tees I have ever worn from any company ever. Now again, we'll talk about some of the other stuff in future videos, but for right now, Into the AM, link down below, check out their classic tees. I recommend you start there. You can try anything else. They have hoodies, they have pants, they have outerwear, but start with the tees because this is easily the product that I swear by the most from what they have. And with that, we're going to go ahead and continue on with our new campaigns. We have Dragons vs. Kingdom, Build Your Realm, Burn Theirs Down. 321 backers, $2,900 raised, 4 days to go. Dragon vs. Kingdom is a print and play roll and write game for the people who brought you Spies and a bunch of other games. They have like that piratey roll and write, well, piratey Dice Throne-esque game. But either way, this is Dragons vs. Kingdoms, where you're basically going to spend time building up your kingdom, but then also spending time tearing down your opponents. So you're going to be building up castles and towers and villages and shops and all these things in your kingdom, but then you're going to go occasionally throughout the game have take control of adjacent players' maps in order to go ahead and burn down their kingdoms, flying the dragon across and seeing how much damage you can wreak as the dragon in the game. Leaning into the very interactive play. Like, these guys build roll and write games, but they focus a lot more on the interaction. Bears and Booty was very much a combat kind of Dice Throne style game. Around the World, 10 to 15 minutes. Don't remember as much about that one. Spies very much had you trying to like degree a hidden movement and working against the other players in the game. These very much lean into more interactive roll and writes, not just doing your own thing, but being very mindful or working with or against the other players at the table. The basic print and play is going to come in at $5 for Dragon vs. Kingdom, and then you get the No Box Games 4-game bundle for $20 to get all their games over here. And that's going to be Dragon vs. Kingdom from... what's the name of the company? The name of the company is No Box Games, which makes sense. They are print and play games. Moving on, we have Above and Below Haunted from Red Raven Games. $275,000 raised, 2,700 backers, 7 days left to go. Above and Below Haunted is the 10th anniversary edition of Above and Below. Well, that's not entirely true. Coming out on the 10th anniversary of Above and Below, we have a new version of Above and Below, which brings you the core gameplay, but with tweaks. So with tweaks, with mitigation, with ghosts, with boats, all those various things added to the game, and of course a new theme. The general idea of this game is going to be a worker placement game in which you are trying to recruit workers, trying to go on adventures. It's an adventure-based worker placement game where you're going to be going on these interactive stories. You're going to be going cave diving and making choices and decisions. So half narrative, half worker placement, and a whole lot of fun in Above and Below Haunted. And again, this is a version of Above and Below, the classic game from Red Raven Games, one of the most popular games that they have in their catalog, until Sleeping Gods came along, that is. But this is going to be Above and Below Haunted. The pledge levels for the game come in at $110 for the Above and Below Haunted campaign campaign combo, and then $60 for the above and below and stretch goals. Now I should note, just so you're aware, that campaign game combo is $50 more, but you're not getting a savings. The treasure chest, you can buy this treasure chest for $30, you can buy the Foreteller app for above and below for $10, and you can buy the soundtrack for $10. Which means if you are looking at this, by all means, if you want this, get it of course, but if you're like, ooh, a bundle, I'm going to save money, you're not saving money. So if you just wanted the treasure chest and nothing else, just get the above and below haunted with the treasure chest and it'll cost you $9. So again, I'm not saying don't get it, I'm just saying there's no savings here in case you thought there was. So pick and choose what you want, you group it up, get whatever it is you want. And speaking of which, there are various stretch goals over here, or add-ons. There's the above and below base game for $50, the Desert Labyrinth and expansion for $20, the treasure chest for $30, the Asvium role-playing game book for $30, the Ruby Fish first player figure for $5. I'm going through all these like a little auctioneer over here. Either way, all the various expansions, including above and below for the original game or the new game on Foreteller, and then that's kind of what we have as far as the various add-ons you can get for the game. As far as should you back or should you not will hold its value, I'm leaning towards yes on this one. In general, Red Ribbon games, their games almost always hold their value, at least initially. How far past that they hold their value does depend on the game. Some have really done a great job over a long period of time, others a little less so. It depends on their game. Some have been more popular, but Above and Below is one of their more popular games, and the haunted theme in general I think will work well and pull people in. So I think this is one that likely the stretch goals of this will likely make this one that holds its value. So if you are thinking of backing it, this may well, if it's a game that doesn't work for you, you can likely get your money back on this one. Oh, and shipping, we should never ignore shipping over here. Shipping is going to come in at $16 for the base bundle over here, and then more as you get it, as you add more stuff to it. Moving on, we have Draconis 8 TCG. 800 backers, $83,000 raised, 9 days to go. Draconis 8 TCG is a TCG that fits in your pocket because it's a small deck of cards, but also fits in your pocket because it goes on your phone and you can play it wherever you want, however you want. In fact, it's a game that as you buy decks of cards, you can go ahead and scan them into the app, and you have them both digitally and physically. You also have digital only packs, so you kind of have both. You have digital only, but if you buy a physical pack, it can become digital, so it's effectively both. But this game is a TCG, but you can basically just buy a single pack and start playing. And I can speak for the game, having played this one, you can absolutely just get a single pack and start playing. I think a variety of packs is nice, but you can kind of play this game a few ways. You can go full TCG mode and completely get a ton of stuff and try to do whatever you want, or you can just buy a few packs and have fun with it, which is probably my recommended way to enjoy the game. I recommend not getting too sucked into the TCG aspect, unless, I guess, if you want to, by all means, I shouldn't stop you if that's your thing. For me, I think it's a great game, and I would enjoy it most as just a bunch of random cards and kind of just going at it. But basically, you're going to be building out a 4x4 grid against another player. There's 2, 3, and 4 player modes, I should note. So the 2-player mode is a 4x4 grid, 3 players a 5x5, and 4 player is a 6x6, if I'm not mistaken. But basically, you're going to be building out this little 4x4 grid as a 2-player game, playing cards into the grid, and each card has a side to it. Let's see if we can show you some actual gameplay content over here. Each card has sides to it over here. Well, those are the starting trees you get in the game. What do we have as far as cards? We have play mats, we have beads, we're kind of over here. Here we got an actual play situation going on. Each card has abilities, but also has numeric sides. The numeric sides are trying to beat the other numeric sides, so how you place them down to the grid matters. And that on its own wouldn't be compelling enough, but then the abilities do mix things up. There's a lot of decisions you're making as far as what goes into the grid, whether you're rotating an enemy, whether you're rotating an ally, whether you're stomping an enemy, pushing them up to the side, and you're always choosing between cards in your hand. You're always going to have 2 cards in your hand, choosing which one is right for the moment. So there's a lot of gameplay, a lot of strategy going on, and coming in at a very affordable price if you want. You could go completely crazy on this one. So we have the starting tier for $5. You get the Draconis app, you get the Draconis starter set, you get the early access to the beta, 5 digital packs, some basic stuff over there, nothing too crazy. You can get the 4-player tier for $50, getting a bunch of stuff, and you can go all the way up spending, $1,000, something like that for the all-in. A Dragon tier for $999. Again, you can go pretty crazy on this, getting a lot of stuff, which by all means do so. The Dragon tier currently has 5 people backing for a whole lot of Draconis 8 TCG content, but ultimately this is a fast-paced, fun game that you could go full TCG, or you could just enjoy it on the app or physically. Either way is going to be fun. I've played both. It's a fast-paced, fun game. As far as should you back or should you not will hold its value, that's hard for me to say. Generally, I think most TCGs can always be crazy, so I can always be wrong on this. My instinct is this is going to be similar to things like, oh my gosh, what's the game called from Keyforge? Similar to the Keyforge series, or the other one, what's the other one? Oh my gosh, from Ascension people. I can't remember. But either way, it's going to be similar to Keyforge in the sense that you're going to have these algorithmically generated packs, differences in numbers, all those fun things. But ultimately, I do think it's one that is likely going to be enjoyable and fun, but less likely to hold its value just given the packs on the market and the way that works. Unless people are hunting down specific packs in like, specific TCG marketplaces, I think overall this is less likely to hold its value. But I do think it'll be fun. Moving on, we have Quest Snakes. $111,000 raised, 1,200 backers, 9 days to go. This is one that I'm confused as to how well it's doing. Like, it's interesting. Like, I have some of these where I'm like, why isn't this doing better? And Quest Snakes, I'm like, I don't think this game looks bad. I don't think it looks $111,000 good over here. But Quest Snakes from Real Fake Games over here is going to be a game which you're going to be drafting, or not really drafting, bidding on pairs of snakes. You're going to be placing out snakes. Effectively, you have all these snakes that have attack value and cooldown value. So you have a 20 attack, a 2 cooldown, a 25 attack, a 4 cooldown. They also have various abilities. And you're basically trying to go ahead and go after these cards in the middle. So you're basically going to have your phase 1 is going to be bidding on these groupings of cards to add these cards to your deck. So you're trying to say, oh, you have a limited pool of money you start the game with, and I think I'm going to spend 4 on these and trying to get them, because you have to spread your money out across 10 snakes. You have to try to get all these snakes into your party, so if you spend too much early on, you might get control early on, but then after that, you're getting the dregs of whatever's left, because there's not a lot left. But then you're going to have a quest card you're going on, you're going to play numbers of snakes, depending on the quest, you'll give you a certain number of snakes you can play in your party, and you're going to play those snakes to try to accomplish that quest, and get the quest cards along with the points on it, the golden mice points. And then your snakes go into cooldown, and see how it goes, rinse and repeat until somebody has the most golden mice and wins the game. It looks fairly straightforward, lots of fun snakes, lots of fun abilities, lots of fun powers, all those things look fairly, again, good. I don't think this looks bad, I just don't think it looks $111,000 good. We have the basic version of the game for $30, just giving you 60 unique snake cards. We have the deluxe edition, giving us the exclusive collector's edition book box, the Snekomancer expansion, Ranger expansion, and the metal token upgrade for $75, and then we have the ultimate fan bundle for $225, giving you all this kind of extra deluxe stuff. And then you can add your pet snake to the game. How many of you have a pet snake? I am curious about that, because I don't have a pet snake. I don't have a pet at all, but I don't have a pet snake, and I wonder how many people have pet snakes. It can't be that high of a number. But either way, that's the general idea of Quest Snakes. Looks fast, furious, fun, and if you want this game, I think you'll probably have a fun time, although I don't think there's that much going on, but you'll probably have a fun time. You'll probably have a fun time with it. As far as should you back or should you not will hold its value, I'm skeptical that it will, although keep in mind, I wouldn't have thought that this would be doing as well as it has, so I might just be wrong. That's the tricky part. Is it's hard for me to give a good gauge of will this hold its value when I would not have thought that it would be funding to $111,000 anyways, so take my lack of confidence that it'll hold its value with a grain of salt of I would have been wrong, but how well the campaign's doing to begin with. Moving on, we have Chivalry is Dead, Race for the Crown, 231 backers, $26,000 raised, 9 days to go. This is a racing game. Collect your friends, prepare your chariot team for some brutal racing actions. In the game, you're going to be racing. You're also going to be dropping things on your opponents, whether it's a barrel or oil, whether it's a bees, and throwing them at the chariot behind you. Basically, littering the map with the various things that will get in the way of your opponents. See who cross the finish line first, and they win the game. It's a racing game with a degree of traps and booby traps and all those things, and altering the map as you go. The base game is going to come in at $55, giving you 4 core races for the game. Then we have the Ready to Race expansion, which brings you $85, an additional $30, which will bring you an additional 3 races with the expansion. So you can now have up to 7 different teams in the game. And then we have the Crown is Mine All In, which is an additional $50 just to get the playmat. Keep that in mind, you're spending $50 just to get the playmat, discounted from $70 or whatnot, but that still is expensive as far as playmats go, relative to other things out there. And then we have the Customized Me for $175, or the King Size Edition for $300 if you want to go crazy. So they have some of the King Size All In for $345, which 11 people are getting, so kudos to them. But you can go a little crazy on this one, or you can just get the base game for $55. But ultimately, it's a racing game with miniatures and characters and the things to throw on the map. There's going to be a degree of upgrading, so you're going to have abilities. You're going to be adding these various perks to your races, so it does have asymmetric races and abilities going on, which will keep the thing a bit more interesting. But that's basically the core idea of this game. As far as shipping is going to come in at $24 for the base game to continental US, and then going up from there to the King Size for $49. As far as should you back or should you not will hold its value, I'm skeptical that it will. Again, a lack of demand on the crowdfunding page, a lack of demand overall, 232 backers, and then a game that is on the expensive side relative to what perceptionally you're getting. And so I just think this is one that overall, if you want to guarantee access to it, by all means get it over here. 233 backers currently means it's going to be a very low secondhand market on it. But if you definitely, if you're concerned as to whether it will hold its value, if it's not a game for you, I am skeptical that it would. Moving on to Aetherspire, cooperative 3D tile placement and tower defense. 333 backers, 9 days to go, $11,000 raised. Aetherspire coming to you from Jason Michelli, who's previously done the, oh my gosh, I can't remember the name of them, but those small box games where you drop things onto the board. They're fun little, I can't remember the names, whatever it is. Either way, welcome to Aetherspire, a placement of a tower defense game, cooperative 3D tile placement. We're going to be trying to build these various spires in the game. You're ultimately trying to build before epic level spires or whatnot, but then every round you're going to have invaders going as the towers you build ultimately trying to push back the defenders in the game, try to push back the invaders in the game. The base game is going to come in at $39 for the base game, the exclusive metal active player token, and the 3D printable STL files, which again is extra miniature stuff, you don't need it. And then for over here we have the early bird, because the rest is retailer, so not a lot of other options there. Basically $39 to get your hands on the game. As far as should you back it, should you not, and let's see if we can show you the, here we go, here's the STL files of stuff you could print. You do not need to print them, but just if you do want that stuff. And then you have the exclusive first player metal active player token, the phase shift exclusive, available during the campaign and from their store directly. As far as should you back it, should you not, will it hold its value? I'm skeptical it will. They have a whole thing as far as the why back now. They cover how the price of the game is going to be nearly double the crowdfunding price, which I am skeptical of. I mean, $39, I'm skeptical that this is going to be a $78 game. And they say nearly, so maybe $70. I'm skeptical it'll be a $70 game in store. Maybe the official MSRP, possibly, but I have a hard time believing that the actual sold price of this will be more than what this is plus shipping. Because shipping's going to run you, on the top of that $39, you're looking at shipping running you roughly another $15. You're looking at $54, which I just think that you'll be able to get this down the road for that price or cheaper. So you're getting that active metal player token, but past that, I don't think there's a huge reason to go out and get this. A drop dungeon, that's what it's called. It's called drop dungeons, or dungeon drop, or they had that, and they have the space one as well. That's their previous games. Although the previous games are relevant because in general, their games have been available on the secondhand market or in just general retail for cheaper than the crowdfunding campaigns generally. So overall, I think this is one that's less likely to hold its value. It's not a ton of demand for it overall, and I just think the price point is not going to be as high as they predict, or at least not the actual sold price relative to the MSRP price. Then we have Fest Season, 248 backers. We have a lot of campaigns today, by the way, that fall into that range. So if it sounds a little repetitive today, that is what a lot of these are going to be. A lot of these are smaller campaigns with smaller audiences that likely won't hold their value, but the best way to guarantee access might be just backing those games because there's not a lot of backers. So it's a little repetitive today because a lot are falling into this category, including our next one, Fest Season. 10 days to go, 248 backers, $20,000 raised. This one looks like a very intense, legendary music festival, thematic Euro-style game. Like, there's a lot going on in this game. I will not be doing a full deep dive on how to play at all. There's a lot of moving tracks, literally a lot of moving tracks. You're going to be moving tracks and then activating their abilities, magnifying based on the fan number. There's a lot of things going on. This is an interactive Euro with a lot happening in the game, and it looks very much like a labor of love. Like, if you go to the campaign page, because I'm going to do loose notes on this one, but if you go to the campaign page, this really looks like there's a lot of passion behind the theme, a lot of passion behind the game, a lot of interactive Euro elements going on. If this sounds appealing to you from a theme perspective and you want a nice medium weight Euro on top of it, I recommend looking into this further to see whether this is up your alley. But specifically, high theme, medium Euro, a lot of things working together, and supposedly good for the people who played it. I haven't tabled this, I can't speak for that. But Fest Season, build a legendary music festival in this competitive Euro-style game. The base pledge is going to be coming in at $71. That's part of why it's having a harder time funding. That intro level price point is not cheap, and we haven't gotten shipping yet either, but $71 for the base version of the game. I want it all for $91 if you want the additional mixtape expansions over there. And then we have, is that the only thing? I think that's the only thing over there. As far as shipping is going to run you an additional $18 or $20 on top of that. So you're looking at basically $100 or $90 to $110, is that what it was? $90 to $110 to get your hands on this game, which is not a small entry price, especially from a first-time creator, which is, I think, part of what's holding it back over here. It does look very cool. Again, if this is your jam, if this is your theme, then definitely check it out further. This is not my theme, so I wouldn't be as interested in this to begin with, and I do think it's on the expensive side, which goes back to what I said earlier. I think this falls into the category, again, of hard to get your hands on after the campaign, but not likely to hold its value. I just don't see people paying $90 or $110 to get your hands on your copy of the game if they want it down the road. So less likely to hold its value, but if you want to guarantee access, go ahead and back now. Moving on, we have Spooky Season Double Feature, plus Decent Crusoe reprint. $22,000 raised, 734 backers, 10 days left to go, and I wonder how many people saw that as a decent, is it Dyson? Is Dyson or Decent? I don't actually know. Let's go with Dyson. No, Decent. Let's go with Decent. Anyways, Decent Crusoe, I can't be wrong. I can't be right about that. It's gotta be Dyson. Decent Crusoe. The Crusoe reprint. We're gonna call it the Crusoe reprint. The Crusoe reprint. If you missed it, Crusoe is probably one of the best rated or best received games from the Simply Solo line of games from Gabe Barrett from the Simply Solo line that he's been doing every single month. Not Simply Solo, the solo game of the month. Wrong. Too many solo games coming on a regular basis. The solo game of the month club from Barrett Publishing. This is basically, I think the Decent Crusoe is one of his more well received games in general. Currently rated well on the it's currently rated well on BGG, and it's one that has held its value, which I've said in general. Every time I cover the solo game of the month, I say the same thing. Most of these will not hold their value. The ones that are really well rated will, because it's a consistent monthly line. They're hard to get your hands on if you missed the original campaign, and so most of them will be, fine. If you want to get it, by all means, it will be less likely to hold its value in the secondary market, but the few standout hits likely will, which I'm guessing are going to be the Rome one as well. The Rome one from the creator of, from Joe Klipfeld, the creator of Gloomhaven Buttons and Bugs. That one likely will be in the same category, but also a Decent Crusoe is the other one. So I think overall, if you missed it, in addition to the fact that there's 2 games to cover here, and there are 2 games, there's a Escape from Route 52, which is a re-themed version of Escape from, was it Colony 52? I think that's what it was, but I could be wrong with that. Basically, it's a re-themed game to a horror version of it. Then we have Hunted Transylvania, which is another hunted game from Solo Game of the Month. It's from the Solo Game of the Month series. They have a lot of the hunted series, and we have another one over here. So those are the 2 games that are in this campaign, but it's also a reprint to get your hands on Decent Crusoe. So if you missed that, definitely check that out. Just based on how well the campaign's doing, I would think that alone would boost the numbers. So I think it's kind of going under the radar, which is why I'm spending so much time focusing on the fact that if you missed out on the Decent Crusoe reprint, you can go ahead and get it now. And yes, the secondhand market is very hard to get your hands on that copy of the game. So this is your best chance to go ahead and get that right now. Past that, we have the 2 new games over here. Escape from Route 52, which, like I said already, is a re-themed version of Escape from Colony 52. I think it's Colony. And then we have Hunted Transylvania, another game in the Hunted line. Those are going to be a 2-for-1 over here, and you're going to get the 2-for-1 for the price of $24 if you want to get that, or $5 for the print and play, or $24 for Decent Crusoe if you want to get that. Shipping is going to come in at the usual $6 or $5 over here, depending on where you're getting it over here, so fairly accessible, and that is basically this. Same thing I've always said, I already covered this. I don't think these are likely to hold their value, but there always will be the exceptions. These are both coming from the Hunted line, which is well known, and Escape from Colony 52, which is a known game already, so I think these fall into the less likely to hold their value, but there is Decent Crusoe, which I think will hold its value. Moving on, we have Sibille, a tarot board game. 264 backers, 11 days to go, $22,000 raised. Sibille is going to be a tarot game about fortune tellers and customers and trying to appease those customers and get the, you have various goals you're going for. You're going to have a variety of goals you're going for as far as how to actually win the game every time you play it, and then you're trying to build your engine and then play action cards from your hand. You're going to have these tarot cards that are going to your hand. You're going to have, I think, 22 tarot cards, and you're picking 3 every single round that are going to be the actions you're playing. So there's a lot of action variety in terms of what you're doing, but there's also trying to predict what your opponents are doing. That's part of the game, and is trying to predict which action cards you think your opponents are going to play, because you'll be rewarded for that as well. We have €49 for the standard edition. We have the Ascended edition for €86, and then we have over here, we have the all in the box for $108 over here, €99, which is also going to give you these tarot card overlays, which I think is a very cool idea. The basic idea is in the game you have your own art and you have the actual abilities on those cards. But if you want to use your own tarot sets over here, what they give is they give you these sleeves that effectively contain the core mechanics of the game. So you have the mechanics on these sleeves, and then you can use whatever tarot cards you want as the actual cards, which I think is an incredibly cool idea for a game that's very tarot themed. I think it's such a cool way to be able to utilize other things you might be passionate about with the mechanics of the game. Like, I don't know how relevant that would be to other games, but I think that's cool. I think it's a cool concept. Like, I can see that being done with like decks of playing cards and overlays, but obviously it's tricky because you have to have something that works well in terms of the mechanics and the overlay. But so far, depending which cards you use, I could see that working well. So very cool idea overall. But that's basically what's going on in Sibille. It's going to be, again, action selection from their 21, 22 action cards, trying to play them out, trying to be mindful of the customers and attracting the customers each round in order to get the various bonuses, and then trying to build your engine as much as possible from the various artifacts and one-time use abilities in the game. Shipping is going to run you €20 or €25, depending on the pledge level. That's going to add to the cost of the game, which brings us once again to the same thing we've been saying all day. I think with 264 backers, this doesn't have that demand, which means overall, I think this is one that's less likely to hold its value if it's not a game for you. But if it also has few enough backers that if you want to guarantee access to it, this is the best way to go ahead and get it. Moving on, we have Capybattle from Creative Jam Games. 421 backers, 11 days to go, €12,000 raised. Capybattle is basically Connect 4, except now it's Connect 5, and also there's abilities. That's kind of a short summary of the game, but it's an accurate summary of the game. You're trying to build up a line of either your buildings or your capybaras, I guess, trying to build up a line, a 5x5 line in the game. But you're being mindful of the fact that every time you place your king down, you're activating the row and column of these actions along the sides over here, which are going to give you tons of things you can try to do, in addition to all the various modules, stretch goals, add-ons. This gives you a lot more abilities going on. There's a lot of abilities happening here. So again, it's Connect 5 with buildings and capybaras, and then lots and lots of abilities to go ahead and make the game very interesting and intriguing and different every single time you play. Which, for me, as someone who likes abstract games, and as someone who likes abilities, this overall very much feels like my kind of thing. I'm not someone who cares about capybaras either way. They're cute. I'm not against them. It's a cute little theme. They've been showing up in a few games recently, so yeah, that works. But that's the basic idea of the game. The pledge level is going to come in at €20 for the Commander pledge level. That's the basic pledge over here. The stretch goals you can already see over here. We have the basic funded. We have the Cunning Fox as an add-on over here. We have the Wise Eagle, which will let you move your capybaras from one side of the board to the other. We have the relocation, which lets you move buildings that have been already placed. We have the Heroes module. We also have the Big Nap mini expansion, which you can add on for €6. We have the Microfiber Cloth if you want a cloth version of the map. The C-Rex, which is cute. It's not a T-Rex, it's a C-Rex for €5. All those things are fun, but ultimately we do move down to the shipping, which is where we lose a little of that fun, because shipping for USA and Canada is going to be €19 for the game, which means your €20 game is going to have €19 shipping, which is just in general a hard pill to swallow. We've talked about this in the past, but perceptually this is a €20 game that you paid twice as much to get it because of shipping, but you probably can't sell it for €40 down the road if it's not a game that works for you. This is a game I'm very interested in. It's just unfortunately that shipping versus cost, it just makes it very hard to justify. I do hope there's a retail presence on this one, because again, the price point's great, and the contents for the price point, all that's great. Just in general, crowdfunding is very hard on small games in terms of it works great when you have a $300 all-in and you pay $25 shipping. That's great. When you have a $20 game and you pay $20 shipping, that's not great. Crowdfunding tends to be harder on smaller games. So overall, I think it's going to fall into the same category. That shipping price makes the core game price makes me think it's a great deal. Of course, you can get €20 back on this, and hopefully it's a great game too. But I think that the shipping unfortunately kills that, so less likely to hold its value. But again, if there isn't retail access plus the stretch goals and all that, you might want to guarantee access now. And the good news is, coming in at €40 total, that's not a crazy price point for crowdfunding. It's just that perception of the price versus shipping is always going to be a hard pill to swallow. Moving on, we have Delivery Witches. 721 backers, 12 days to go, $47,000 raised. Delivery Witches is a pick up and deliver game, which you're going to be mindful of, well, a whole bunch of things, but you're mindful of your characters. You're trying to be upgrade your tableau. There's a little Dune Imperium-esque sideboard where you're trying to move up various tracks to get more points there. You also be mindful of the package you're delivering and the various hazards that go. So as you wander around the board, there's certain areas that you can cross, but ultimately you need to be mindful of the damage or the hazard aspect of those things, and when to take those risks and cross things or not. But that's kind of Delivery Witches. It's ultimately a pick up and deliver game with a little bit of tableau building and a lot of other things all combined. We have the standard edition of the game, which is going to be €40 for the standard edition, giving you the standard components, nothing too crazy. We have the 70, I don't mean that negatively, just standard edition components. We have the special deluxe edition for $71, which is going to give you the same stuff you get in the base version, but you're also going to get, where are we over here? The Mastery Wood tokens, the 2 token pouches over here, the customized wooden meeples, and the lore book is going to be added for that $27 extra, I think it was. And then we have $109 for the Priority Delivery Collector's Edition, which gives you the base game, all in Lux stretch goals, deluxe components, the A4 illustration official figurine as well. So that's what you're getting for the full-on Collector's Edition of the game. As far as should you back or should you not, will hold its value. First, let's take a look at shipping. Shipping can run you between 16 to 22, depending on the, of course, where you are and the version of the game. But overall, this one has definitely a bit more demand. It's a very Studio Ghibli-esque style game, based on Delivery Witches, I believe, or based on Mika and the oh my gosh, it's Mika and the something, or whatever it is. It's based on a video game, effectively, which is okay, the video game is Studio Ghibli inspired. The board game is based on the video game, which means the board game is also inherently Studio Ghibli inspired, but like one step removed, if that makes sense. But as far as should you back it will hold its value, I'm skeptical it will overall. Price point's a little bit more medium, not a great price point, not a bad price point. Demand's a little up from the other campaigns, but still overall, I think we're still seeing that medium to smaller publisher right now without a ton of demand. A lot of medium campaigns. We have I don't even know, do we have larger campaigns coming? I don't know what we have left. We have a few. I think the largest campaign we have today is Above and Below, so not a Not a ton going on over there, but that's going to be Delivery Witches. Moving on, we have Mage Noir, Animal Enigma over here, expandable card game. $86,000 raised, 558 backers, 14 days to go. This is the newest expansion to Mage Noir, bringing animals to your game. The animals, Mage Noir is going to be a card game, not collectible, but a card game. You're going to be building your decks, using tons of abilities, focus on the mages themselves, casting spells, all those fun things. But then ultimately, this expansion is going to be adding your animal companions. Animal companions are very important that you pick them right, because you can only have one in your deck. It's going to start in play, but that you're going to have, so you can have access to all the things it does right away, but you can only get a single animal to put in your deck, so choose wisely as you go through the deck building. That's like the new expansion content over here, the new thing being added in this expansion. As far as the game over here, we have €59 for the new Mage starter bundle. We have €79 for the returning Mage, giving you all the new content over here, all 6 new expansions for the game. We have €179 for the returning Mage all in. This gives you all the stuff, so not just the gameplay content, but all the various things for the new stuff, for the new campaign. And we have the new Mage Explorer for €189, which gives you kind of most of what you need as a new Mage. And then we have the all-in for €589, which is a lot of money. As far as should you back it, should you not, will hold its value. This is one of those things where if you kind of care about exactly guaranteeing what you get, by all means, backing it is the best way to do that. But if you're less fussy about that, overall in the secondhand market, this is a game that definitely has not held its value on the secondhand market. You can see people selling it for like half of what they paid for it, if not less. So it's one that I don't think will hold its value, and if you want to pick it up, the secondhand market is the best, most affordable way to do so. But if you want to guarantee that you get this, that, the other, or even just get it now, or support a publisher, obviously getting it on crowdfunding will change that equation. Moving on, we have the Bad Karmas and the Curse of the Cthulhu. Oh, this is higher than Above and Below, isn't it? Above and Below is $274. Nope, it's actually technically still lower. No, wait, $1, $1, €1, it's higher. We have the Bad Karmas and the Curse of Cthulhu. Forgot about this one. €261,000 raised, 919 backers, 17 days left to go. This is the new expansion, standalone expansion to the Bad Karmas. You still do need the Taboo system. So, short recap in case you don't know, but basically the Taboo system is from, Taboo over here, and it's a console for gaming. They have the Bad Karmas and the Curse of the Zodiac, they have the Bad Karmas and the Curse of Cthulhu, and then they have the, Vampire the Masquerade, Milan Uprising as well. So they have a few games based on the system, although they also have partnered with Hasbro, so expect more games, both from Taboo and I assume from Hasbro, although I don't know exactly what that partnership looks like or how it's going to manifest, but expect more games. They definitely have a backing because of that. But the Taboo system is basically a console. It helps you run games digitally by utilizing the app, and the app knowing where pieces are. You can roll dice and the app sees what you roll. You can move a character and the app knows where that character is in the right location. So it kind of makes learning a game incredibly easy. It does pull you into the app, so if you're someone who doesn't like app games, this is definitely going to pull you into the app. You're looking at your phone or your app or your console or whatever it is, but it is managing and helping you run the game. So it's great if you don't want the rules overhead. It's not great if you don't want to be looking at a phone or tablet while you're playing a game. That's the short pitch of it. Past that, every game is going to be its own thing, and the Bad Karmas is a boss battler game. The Bad Karmas and the Curse of Cthulhu is going to take that boss battler aspect and then bring you 6 Cthulhu Elder Gods to your table in 2 different boxes to be able to have that boss battler experience with a few new mechanics as well. So you have the horror element going on. Each player has a curse going on that can be enabled as they take too much horror. So it adds a few things on top of the basic idea of the boss battling gameplay. But it's up to you to figure out the patterns of the boss. What's he doing? How does he activate? What's this terrain do? You're going to have to figure out the nuances of each boss as you face off against them. But you're also upgrading your characters, adding cards to the deck, upgrading their cards, just basically getting more powerful and better as you go through these sequences. And when I say it's standalone, you do need the Taboo system, but you don't need the previous Bad Karmas, although if you do get that, they are, I think, doing some backwards compatible stuff, making sure the old characters have curses in case they fight against the new Elder Gods, so making sure there's backwards compatibility between the stuff so you can play everything however you want. That's kind of the short-ish pitch as far as what's going on over here. As far as the rewards for the game, we have €260 for the Cthulhu Collector's Edition plus Taboo. So this will give you everything you need to play the game. You don't need anything else if you get this. The Cthulhu Core Pledge for €75. This is going to be great if you already have the Taboo system and you're only getting one of the boxes. With the Cthulhu Collector's Pledge for €140 if you want both boxes, but again, you have to have the Taboo system. We have the Zodiac Core Pledge, which is going to give you the Volume 1 in case you want that. And then we have the Cthulhu Core Pledge plus Taboo bundle for €195. So it's not giving you the all-in of new stuff, but it's like, hey, I just want 3 bosses to fight against. I'll get the other stuff down the road. We have the Zodiac Core Pledge plus Taboo, and we have Zodiac Big Box plus Taboo to complete Saga plus Taboo for €570. So a lot of mixing and matching in order to ensure you have access to the new content each version of the new content with the taboo, new content with old content with taboo. You're kind of getting all the mixing and matching in the various pledge levels to get whatever you need. And then of course we have the various stretch goals being added. We have the add-ons in case you want to get the individual things however you want. The Dark Age heroes, Zodiac Apocalypse heroes, New World heroes. These are going to be things from the original campaign. Extra set of dice, an extra LED ring, all these extra stuff. You can get Milan Uprising over here too if you want to get all those. So just a lot of things you can get for this game. That's kind of what we have over here. Shipping is not going to be cheap either though, because these are big boxes over here. Shipping is going to run as little as 25 euro. That's as little, it's not little, but all the way up to 75 euro for the whole everything. I've seen that box. It makes sense, that price point, just given how much stuff you have over there. But as far as should you back it, should you not, will it hold its value? As far as whether it's a game for you, that is a whole different conversation for another day. Like I said already, the short highlight pitch is this makes rules accessibility much easier, but it makes actually like looking at an app as you play is going to be a problem you're going to have to deal with yourself, your game group, whoever it is, because it's literally looking at your phones in order to manage things. But as far as will it hold its value, currently yes. Currently in the second-hand market, this game has gone for more than what people have paid for. People do want this system. So if you're someone who's on the fence, I can't say for sure how the second wave will do, but this is still new, fresh, interesting, and there are people who are hunting this down. So, you know, the full all-in here is like less, meaning the full all-in is like 570 euros, that it was, plus shipping on top of that brings you to like, you know, close to whatever, close to like $700 roughly. But I've seen copies of this going for $500 to $700 just for the original content, not even the new content for the game. So it's one that is holding its value overall. Moving on, let me see the tab we're up to. We are up to Reef and Ruins. Reef and Ruins plus Wicked and Wise Deluxe with new expansion. 374 backers, 16 days to go, $11,000 raised. Reef and Ruins is going to be a roll and write game in which you're going to be drawing 3 tabs, rolling dice, and then deciding which 3 sheets of paper, and then rolling dice and deciding where to allocate your dice on these various sheets. You know, choosing to unlock various runes, choosing to go to the beach, I think, the ship runes, the enchantments, getting to the enchantments over here and gathering these and possibly getting extra shells, and then going to the reefs where you can go ahead and gather pearls. Now you're going to be mixing and matching these sheets over here. You have different sheets you can utilize, although it does recommend that the players all have the same sheets as they play, but basically it's roll dice and assign different zones, try to get as many points as possible. That's going to be the base game over here, which is going to run you print and play for $9, or the game itself for $19, plus shipping on top of that. And then we also have the Wicked and Wise expansion, which they have the Everything New pledge over here, which is going to be $59, because Wicked and Wise has an expansion, as well as a deluxe version of the game as well. So there's a bunch of things going on in this campaign. Sorry, the Wicked and Wise expansion is going to be everything new. The Everything New for Wicked and Wise Deluxe Edition over here, as well as the Wicked and Wise Reflections, which is the expansion for $59. And then we also have some add-ons in case you want to go ahead and get a playmat over here, the Wicked and Wise playmat for $19. If you want to get the Deluxe Metal Coin separately, the Axolotl pins, all of those things over here. As far as should you back or should you not, and shipping over here, let's go to shipping. Shipping is going to be $7 for the Reef and Ruins, and then $16 for Wicked and Wise. As far as should you back or should you not will hold its value, generally looking at their past games from, what's the company name again? The company is, oh my gosh, Weird Giraffe Games. Looking at Wicked and Wise previously, it's not one that has held its value. Granted, this is a deluxe edition of the game, so it's a little hard to say for sure, but overall their games they're usually harder to get your hands on, but usually don't do a great job holding their value in the second-hand market, so I would say back accordingly. Moving on, our last campaign of the day, our last campaign of the day, we have Rumble Planet over here. Rumble Planet from Ankama Board Games, 613 backers, 17 days left to go, 70,000 euro raised. Rumble Planet coming to you from Ankama Board Games, who have done Crossmaster, they've done Monster Slaughter, they've done, what's that new one, oh my gosh, the Egyptian Arcase or whatnot. That was their last campaign that kind of kept them off crowdfunding for like 3 years while they resolved and delivered that one. But they're back with Rumble Planet, which is a tactical battle royale game in which you're playing golf. Except, as they say in the video, it's a fun video, you should watch the video. As I say in the video, the rules of golf have changed. Now you're trying to shoot the balls into the players, and the 18 holes are in the players. So slight changes to the actual gameplay of golf, but that's what we do now in the future. It's going to have lots of fun miniatures, gorgeous miniatures, immersive 3D scenery. So you're going to have these kind of these risers effectively. We can place different types of terrain on top of them, giving you a lot of reuse of being able to add expansions and have different terrain thrown in. We have dynamic gameplay where you're going to have a battle royale with loot and shoot twist and no player elimination, but you're going to have lots of equipment, and the equipment's going to be upgradable, but also it's going to be aging out. There's an obsolescence system where the equipment is constantly aging, so you constantly have to go ahead and get your hands on new equipment in order to stay relevant and also stay a threat as you play through this. It looks very cool. I like the look as far as the overall aesthetic of the game. game. I like the miniatures. I like the idea of the fast-paced tactical shooting gameplay. I like the idea of no player elimination. But all those things don't mean the game's good. It just means that I personally want to play the game. It looks fun. It looks like a fun game, and I want to play it overall. But that's as we have as far as the general main game over here. The add-ons, let's go to the pledge levels. Pledge levels are going to be €65 for the base game and €95 for the all-in. Although before we cover the all-in, let's take a look at the expansions, because the expansions are up here. We have the core game. We have the boss expansion, which gives you a powerful new threat where the boss serves no one, and you can go ahead and work with other players to go ahead and take down the boss over here. We have 2 miniatures over here. We have more terrain, a new game board, a new boss board, all of that in the boss expansion. We have the Winds of Anarchy expansion, which is going to give you unpredictable challenges, giving you extra rewards. We have the Fortune's Fury expansion, which gives you more weapons and armor, weather effects, as well as loot cards added to the game, and you can get all those expansions for an additional €30 in the all-in gameplay over here. Then past that, there's a bunch of ways to spend even more money, from the deluxe dice set to the playmats to boss expansion playmats, dice trays, metal coins over here, enameled loot boxes. So lots of ways to spend money on just nice extra things as opposed to gameplay if you wanted to do so. As far as shipping is going to run you down here. We have €24 to $29 depending on what you're getting over here, which does add significantly to the gameplay to the game price. If you're looking at the pledge levels, you're looking at €65, but up to €95, and then up to €125 for everything, because shipping does add a nice chunk over there. As far as should you back or should you not will hold its value, I'm skeptical it will. It is hard to say on this one, and the game does look good. I do want this one personally, but overall, it doesn't look like there's enough demand on this one for the price point, and in comic games in general, their games have been a little bit all over the place as far as how well they've done in the secondhand market, or even how well they've done at what point. So something like Monster Slaughter is a good example, and might be a good fair comparison to this game, even just the general aesthetic and look of the game, although I do think Monster Slaughter was more popular, which makes it harder to gauge. But that's a game that has done well in the secondhand market initially, but then over time it definitely shifts down. So I do think this one falls more into the risk camp. Again, if you want to guarantee access to it, with 613 backers, and that'll be higher by the end of the campaign, there'll be some availability for sure, and it could have more, retail availability or even a reprint. They've done reprints on their games in the past, but I definitely still would put it into the risk category, and a little skeptical that it will hold its value. That's kind of what we have for today's lineup, which means it's time for our picks of the week. Now, picks of the week is where I go ahead and pick 2 games, one that I think is the most likely to hold its value, and one that I have my personal interest pick of the week. As far as most likely to hold its value, I'm going to go ahead with the Bad Karmas and the Curse of the Zodiac. Just based on the current secondhand market on this one, I think this is the most likely to hold its value. It's just, just looking at the secondhand sales of this game, there's clearly demand for it. I don't know for sure if that'll hold true as well for this one, but I assume it'll hold at least close, because right now it's selling for above its value, so I assume it'll hold pretty decently as well. And then for my personal interest pick of the week, I'm gonna go ahead with I almost went with Rumble Planet, but I actually changed it to Capybattle. Capybattle is gonna be my personal interest pick of the week because I like abstract strategy games. I like powers and abilities. This one does very much look like my jam. Again, the thing that's holding me back right now is the shipping price point on top of things. The shipping just doubling the price of the game, but past that, the game itself does look very good, and personally speaking, I'm interested in it. And that's what we have over here for your 2-back and not-to-back. As far as upcoming campaigns, we have Bardsong launching tomorrow, with 12,000 people following the campaign for Tale of the Forsaken Glade, and then we have Root launching over on Kickstarter, with 17,000 people currently following the newest Root expansion, which I'm sure will do incredibly well. Root in general has a very, very passionate audience. And that is everything. Until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. I hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, I hope you have a good one. Did you hear about the kidnapping at school this week? It's fine though. They did eventually wake him up.